More than 55 million abortions in America since Roe v. Wade in 1973. There are more than 3,300 abortions daily and 137 abortions per hour in the United States. We are tolerating 1.5 million unjustified homicides per year. The purpose of my speech is to give 4 reasons why Roe v. Wade should be overturned. I do not intend for this to be exhaustive because time does not permit, but I do hope that what you hear makes you want to know more about the subject. I will briefly discuss how abortion is unbiblical, is a cruel procedure, it is immoral, and the arguments for abortion are flawed. First, it is not biblical. The Bible says, "Thou shalt not kill," Exodus 20:13. The prohibition, "You shall not kill," is not a universal prohibition against taking human life in any context, but it is wider in its scope than the simple first-degree murder. Jesus includes in this understanding of this mandate a prohibition against hatred. Hatred is understood as murder of the heart. In effect, Jesus says that the law implicitly prohibits potential murder. Left to its own, hatred results in murder. He says that the law prohibits the potential destruction of life. Shameless destruction of life is prohibited. This implies an implicit command to promote the sanctity and safeguarding of life. The sanctity of life is the supreme basis for the prohibition of murder. The second reason to overturn Roe v. Wade is abortion is a cruel procedure. There are several methods used in performing abortions. The first method is D&C. In this procedure, the baby's body is cut into pieces and it removes the placenta from its place in the urine wall. The second method is suction method, where a suction tube is inserted in the womb. The suction tears both the baby and his or her placenta from the uterus, sucking them into a jar. Using these 2 methods, it is possible to identify human arms, hands, and legs. The third method is saline injection, the most common practice during the second trimester. A long needle is inserted in the mother's abdomen into the sac surrounding the baby, and some of the fluid is removed and replaced with a solution of concentrated salt. The baby breathes in and swallows the salt and is poisoned by it. Many times the outer layer of skin is burned off. It takes about an hour for the solution to kill the baby, and within a day the mother goes into labor and delivers a dead, shriveled baby. The fourth method is hysterectomy. This method is used in the final trimester of pregnancy because the baby is too large to use the other methods. This method is the same as a cesarean section. However, a cesarean section is usually done to save the life of a baby, and this is done to destroy it. With all these methods, the baby can feel pain. There are 2 clinics that permit late-term abortions, let their patients hold the fetus in a blanket. In the article Teaching Above the Fray, a multidisciplinary approach to Roe v. Wade by N.E.H. Hall and Peter Hoffer discusses how a relative new concept in Christian thought is that the soul enters the fetus at conception. Abortions are immoral because it promotes promiscuity. Opposition to abortion may quite legitimately be based on the notion that easily available abortion encourages sexual promiscuity by removing some of the more serious consequences of premarital or extramarital sex. In the British Medical Journal, there was a letter written by Louise F.W. Erikoff on abortion and promiscuity. She states, "The knowledge that young girls can obtain an abortion on demand and be issued with contraceptive is a great comfort to those girls who are grateful that they will not have to interrupt their sexual activities for long and that they will be made safe to carry on their practices. Aborting and being fitted with contraceptive is the best insurance that these girls will continue with an even greater avidity on their paths. While it is not possible to present all the arguments for abortion and their flaws, allow me to present two arguments that are invalid. In an article by Lisa Zoe Cahill of Boston College, she points out how the argument supporting abortion, usually using analogy, are not valid arguments. Undoubtedly, the most commonly raised case of conflicting rights is the conflict between the fetus' right to life and the mother's right to control her own body. According to this argument, the baby does have a right to life, but the mother has a right to bodily self-determination. In this case, the right of the mother is preferred over that of the baby. She uses Judith Jarvis Thomason's analogy of the famous violinist. She claims that even if the fetus has a right to life, the mother's right to control her own body outweighs the right of the child. The child is the intruder. Judith Thomason also characterizes the dependency as both alien and hostile. The fetus is not like the violinist in her analogy, as its existence and dependency upon the womb of the mother is the normal condition of its existence. Another argument to the right of life versus unwanted children. According to this argument, it is morally wrong to bring any child into the world who is unwanted. Unwanted pregnancies lead to unwanted children, and unwanted children result in abused children. Therefore, if a woman does not want a child, she should be free to choose to abort that fetus. First, it is very difficult to see how freedom of a choice is a right that supersedes the right to life. Secondly, it's extremely difficult to know whether an unwanted pregnancy will lead to an unwanted child who, as a result, will be unloved and abused. Many parents who do not plan to have a child find that the wife is pregnant. By the time the birth occurs, the child is loved and wanted. Once a child is born, few would be so cruel as to abuse a child just because his or her conception was unplanned. Third, one might ask, unwanted by whom? Given the large number of abortions, the acceptability of keeping a child conceived out of wedlock, and increasing infertility, there is a large number of childless couples who desperately want to adopt but are unable to do so. A generation of young American women has known abortion only as a legal right, not as a crime or desperate act. The task of restoring the sanctity of life, fetal included, may seem impossible. We as Christians need to stand up for what is right and take action against abortion. We need to know what it would be to take to reverse Roe versus Wade. In the article Reversing Roe versus Wade by Paige Cunningham, she said, reversal requires either that enough justices change their minds about their original decision to make a new majority, or that new members are appointed to the court. According to Ms. Cunningham, if there was a reversal, it would have to go through many channels of courts before it could happen.